welcome. My name is Errity Green, and this is Wise Woman Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on messages from your home planet. So if you consider yourself a light worker, a starseed, if you consider yourself to have alien origins or ET origins, and even if you don't, you could apply this to your experience and your belief system. This could be guidance from your soul self, higher self, spirit guides. However, especially if you consider yourself to have starseed origins, this reading is for you. And we will be diving into guidance, clarity, insight, wisdom, feedback, or direction from your home planet. So do stick around. If you find that you enjoy this reading, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, how I can support you, personal readings, you can check out those details below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. And I invite you to check out my other communities and channels on YouTube. Those are also linked below: Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Talk. So go ahead and click those links below and check out those channels as well. All right, without further delay, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today. You are, as always, choosing from left to right. All right, card pile 1. This is such a good one. Message from your home planet. So I want to share, I decided I'm going to start doing themes for at least most of my readings as long as I feel guided to. That way I can show you at least one card to really gather the energy and the qualities and the feelings and features of your reading. So card pile 1, this is the theme of your reading. I'm going to let you check it out for a moment, and then I'm going to share the intuitive messages from the entire row of cards now. So this says amethyst, transformation, certainty, confidence. So as expected, with that coming up as the theme, and all of your cards point to a similar theme. This is one of those messages where it's redundant and continues to affirm it. As I'm looking at it, every single one, it's like bada bing, bada boom, bada bang, right? You're going through a deep healing and transformation. You're being asked to trust this. It actually brings out great emotion because it's like this beautiful, profound message of reassurance, of trusting this, trusting what's happening, trusting what's underway, trusting what has occurred and transpired that has brought you here. This is a deep soul cellular healing that was always meant to occur for you in this life. It's something that you very much are aware of, and you're in the deepest recesses of your being, your soul, spirit, higher self. You were always aware this would happen. It is something that you more or less signed up for. You're given this beautiful message of love, profound love, by the way, and reassurance that everything is okay and everything is even right on time, that this was predestined, predetermined, that this was a deep healing it was a deep clearing that you were always meant to go through. There's something here about clearing out. And there's nothing wrong with these parts of ourselves, but I'm going to speak directly to the messages today as best I can without disclaimers. Errity, my human self, likes to offer disclaimers sometimes to offer greater context and greater support and bring things down to the practical level. But especially when it comes to starseed readings and readings that are meant to just come through naturally and organically without a bunch of filters and disclaimers, I want to really allow this to be as it is. So if you find yourself curious or with questions, you can share your feedback or comments below or check out other readings, but I do want to speak strictly to the messages today. So, and my point in that is that you have signed up for this in one way or another, okay? You knew this was going to happen, and there's this beautiful message again of reassurance and trusting this. And the reason I like to give disclaimers, especially in this case, is because as humans, things are extremely difficult, and it's not so easy, and it's not as palatable for us as it is for the spirit beings or for people on the other planet. So I'm glad I signed up for this when I was in another body, in another dimension, but now that I'm here, this sucks, you know? And so that's what I mean by offering disclaimers and sometimes supporting your human, your ego identity. But I feel like that's not even relevant or necessary here. It's very much about allowing this message, this energy to come through and remind you of who you are. Reminding you of who you are. There was this deep clearing, and that's bringing us back full circle here. Deep clearing of some ego identities that were not totally supporting what you needed to step into in terms of your higher calling and purpose. It was a matter of where you weren't seeing yourself clearly, where you were still seeing yourself through the eyes of limitation, where you weren't able to see your full worth, value, power, and truth. like this clearing needed to happen so that you could see through the eyes of truth, with the eyes of truth, even perhaps with the awareness, consciousness, perception of your home planet, but seeing yourself in your full glory. That's what wanted to come through here. And anything that was going to be in the way of your full glory, whether it be your own perception and filter, your own patterns primarily, it feels like there's this part of you that's like awakened, we'll say, aware in your true power, trusting. Your soul is here. It emanates. People are aware of it. People are drawn to you. You're likely a magnetic force of some kind. When people walk into a room, they notice you. And yet there's the part of you that feels like more emotional. So there's an emotional part of you. We could say this is the more human part of you. And this is the part of you that might not be as mature, we'll say, as this other part, your soul self. And of course, how could it be, right? And so that's the part of you that during this time, through this clearing, is being sort of worked on, we could say, and supported to be able to see itself in its full glory. So you're no longer identifying as sort of this sad, sorry self, or this fragile, delicate self, or this fearful, abandoned, insecure self, right? It's like we have these parts of ourselves, and there are no parts that are problems. They're all meant to be, right? They're all meant to be a part of our path. And eventually, though, all sorts of identities or patterns or whatever expire. All of them do. They come to a time where they must be raised, into proper adulthood or maturity, we could say, or shifted into a different perception, pattern, or filter, or we're held back in some way, right? And so what wanted to come through here is bringing you into your higher power so you could see yourself in your full glory, okay? This is about you seeing yourself for all that you are, and this sort of inner wounded child was unable to see yourself in that way, to perceive yourself in that way because of its insecurities, because of its emotional dramas, reactivity patterns, I think challenges in intimate relationships, or intimacy being one of them. It could look different for each and every one of you, but some of you might have had a persona or pretense wrapped up in certain things external to you, say work, livelihood, could also be relationships. Some of you wrapped up in people-pleasing patterns or approval patterns where you're doing things because you were told to, taught to, because you thought that's what you're supposed to do, because it was expected of you, but it wasn't true for you, right? So a lot of that kind of stuff that was ultimately holding you back. And that's sort of like the primary perception you were living through, as opposed to this deeper soul, deeper truth, your fuller glory. And so what's coming through and what's been coming through is this big shift, massive clearing. But this also feels ancestral in some way, generational, meaning you were meant to come here and break a lot of cycles for your family and clear out a lot of denser energies so you could support not only yourself in stepping into a higher calling, but also lead a massive transformation that might even be global. Some of you might be meant for some level of visibility, some level of fame, some level of reaching people at a really great level, but it requires you to do that clearing so that then you're able to help people from that perception, right? From that truer perception, from your place of power, truth, and wisdom, as opposed to your, say, inner wounded child or emotionally immature self. And there's nothing wrong with being emotionally immature. Humans are emotionally immature, right? This is part of the process. We're all basically kindergartners in the cosmos, and that's okay too. That's why we came here, is to play this game. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a matter of where you were placing your focus, your time, your energy, where you were operating from. And if it was primarily from there was never going to be this ability to see yourself in your full glory and bring about the higher outcomes and gains that you were meant to access, that you're also then, of course, though, meant to support others to access within themselves. So eventually you might see yourself as a teacher, leader, guide, or guru of some kind. Whatever kind of connotations you have or attachments or investments wrapped up in those words, choose one that aligns with you, but similar vibe, or you're meant to support people in some way. It's part of your mission here. It's part of your reason for incarnating here from your home planet. Your home planet is assuring you that this transformation was very much meant to be and is guiding you and steering you exactly where you need to go. And it's supporting you with your deeper clearing and the clearings that you're bringing about, not only for your family, ancestors, and generations before you and generations to come, but also so that you can help other people in terms of audience, clients, followers, consumers, neighbors, friends, community, so on and so forth. You're meant to create some significant transformation in the world, which requires then a significant transformation of you. So let's see what else is going here. Yeah, massive rebirth. We have multiple rebirths and transformation cards. Yeah, this is getting you to a place again of that true power, of authentic freedom. I am at home in my body and at peace in my spirit. So coming into this energy, right? Where a lot of those external things don't get to you, can't access you, won't touch you, right? There's this unshakability, this unmoving aspect to you where the world cannot touch you, right? In the world, but not of the world. In there, but not taking it seriously. It's like, you know how there's that saying, something about you show up to work, you clock in, you clock out kind of thing. Like you do what you need to do and you go home, you don't take it home with you. It's kind of that energy where it's like you go out there, you stay in your own energy, stay in your own lane, do what you need to do, and you come home and everything else that's happening outside of you, noise, chaos, gossip, whatever, however, haterade, you know, it has nothing to do with you, and you're able to let all that go and come home to your own inner peace, your own inner sanctuary. Nothing outside of you can touch you. You're getting to that point of power and truth where you recognize how, we'll say meaningless, not to make it out to be completely meaningless. Obviously, people outside of us are meaningful. And again, we're going to disclaimer, so I'm going to stick to the message, but focusing on that which is most important, that which you can control, you, yourself, your source, your home, your sanctuary, your peace, and everything else gets to work itself out. I am courageous, steady, and strong. Look at that. The conviction you're developing, the strength that you're developing, the power, the foresight, the inner knowing, the intuition and wisdom, walking, being guided by your own inner compass, your own gauge. Like nothing out here has much to do with you. It's like you already know. I want to come up with a really good, I want to describe this energy in a way that really lands. So it's almost like you're walking with your own arrow, right? It's not because of something outside of you or because you're responding to something or reacting to something outside of you. You have your own arrow. It's like you already know what you need to do. You have this mission, this purpose, this plan, this objective, right? And it doesn't feel too sterile, mechanical, masculine. You know, this energy here also has a really powerful feminine strength. I'm sure it comes through as I'm sharing it. But it's like you are sourced from self, sourced from your own self. You're moving toward your own objective, goal, aspiration, as opposed to responding to something someone said out here, or responding or reacting to what this person does, or these world events, this external stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a difference between being the initiator or being the hunter and being the hunted. And there's a card, an oracle card out there that says that, but it's not even the greatest one. And if a better metaphor or analogy comes through, I'll share it. But it's basically like you are your own guide. You are your own initiator. You know what you're here to do, and that's it. That's what you're sticking to. All this other stuff is noise. And that's the point that you're getting to here, or that you're being driven to, guided toward. Again, nothing can touch you or access you. You're in touch with your truth, your power, your inner peace. And from this place beckons this greater calling, this greater mission, purpose, destiny that you're already aligned with, you're already moving toward. And that's what they're saying is this movement, this energy, this whoa, maybe this great purge even. It probably feels like a massive purge. It probably feels like annihilation in some ways, but you're facing all of these demons, but it's all ultimately this great cellular clearing. Like imagine it physically or biologically, if you were letting go of a lot of toxins, it probably wouldn't look very pretty. It probably wouldn't feel very good. It would be very uncomfortable, but ultimately it would leave you in a revived, refreshed, renewed space of health, well-being, and wellness afterward, and higher vibration, and so on and so forth. That's very much what's happening emotionally. You're like a rag that's being wrung out to the point where it gets really tight and really uncomfortable, really tight, really uncomfortable. Everything's dripping out. And guess what? Eventually everything drips out, and then you can let go of the rag, and the rag is back to itself, but renewed, detoxified, purified, purged, cleansed, and in a truer state, more that blueprint, that full glory. Yeah, so I forgive and let go with loving ease, moment to moment. So it's letting this energy happen. It's letting this happen moment to moment. It's allowing this process to unfold as it needs to, letting it come all the way to completion. I feel like what's happened for you, card pile one, at different times, you started to question yourself or question the process. You started to not trust what was happening because it got so dense or so intense or so surreal or so profound and so dark, or whatever that is for you, where, and it's totally okay, right? But sometimes we get ourselves in our own way. We put a monkey wrench in the plan. And so we've made this much more difficult than probably it needs to be at times. I don't want to say we've slowed it down. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like sometimes with our questioning of it, the process slows down. When if we just allowed it, if we just let go, if we just let it be, you know, even forgive life or forgive it, whatever it needs to be forgiven, it's like this relinquishing, not just relinquishing of control, but relinquishing of emotions or energy or blockages or emotional patterns, whatever wants to let go of, let go. Because there's this energy of, and maybe there's a lack of clarity here. And so this is the message that's coming through. In fact, you might not have always known what actually serves and what doesn't. Sometimes you can be confused at times, and that's where you might hold on for dear life, and you're unsure, especially when everything kind of has been cleared out. It's like you want something, some sense of comfort, stability, safety, security. So you're like grasping at straws, just pick one so you have something that feels familiar. But it's like sometimes you don't even know what's actually for you, and it's like that life is guiding you. Whatever tends to fall and flow away or kind of leave your life or is coming up and out of yourself or whatever, then that's what's meant to come up and out, to leave, be released. You don't have to go searching for the things to let go, but everything will be let go if you let it go, right? But ultimately the energy is going to come through and want this release to happen, but ultimately you're the one who's grasping on and has to be able to let go. It's going to be you who makes that declaration or decision and finally relinquishes that. And then this energy can move through much more easily. This energy is supporting you. It's bringing you to a higher place, a higher state of mind, a higher state of being. It's bringing you to where you need to go in terms of where you want to be, in terms of wealth, abundance, purpose, destiny, calling. Did I say abundance? So it's bringing you where you want to go and also where you're meant to go. So to finish up this message here, messages from your home planet, this transformation is well underway. It's supporting you to cleanse, to purge, to release, to really come into your full power, strength, knowing, and truth and value, and to become someone who is self-directed, someone who doesn't take the life's events or external events or people or whatever too seriously. I mean, they do, they're open-hearted, they're intimate, but they're not taking it seriously to where it now changes their course of direction. You trust yourself well enough, you know what you need to do, so go clock in. All right. So thank you, card pile 1. If this reading lands or resonates, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. Do share your story in the comments. If you want to get to know more about me, personal readings, how to work with me, you can check out those details below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, do give my other channels some love if you find that you connect with that content. Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Talk, both are updated regularly. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2. These are messages from your home planet. So I'm opening each of these readings with a theme, and I'm going to share the card with you. That way you can see the theme and pull any qualities, traits, features, colors, vibes that you get from these. I'm going to try to do, as long as I'm guided and it's in flow, to share at least a theme card every single reading. That way you are able to witness or observe at least one card. And then most times a reading will flow with a particular theme, and now we're just giving a picture to it, and that way I can share it with you. So this is Tree of Life, fertility, creativity, destiny, and magical blessings. So messages from your home planet. So there is something here about, there's a few words and themes that are popping up right off the bat, and we're going to see how those can be elaborated here. But I'm picking up on community, partnerships, sisterhood, supportive partnerships, collaboration, picking up on even intimacy, romantic partnerships, picking up on movement, creativity, inspiration. I just feel like there's movement in your life right now. Things are picking up speed, things are accelerating, things are bringing you into a more creative or creatively expressive period than perhaps they have been before or have been in a while. Things are picking up speed. And so it's interesting because I do feel like this is connected to card pile 1 in a way, and this whole reading might be sequential. So we're going to find out. I don't know that for sure. We'll discover it as we go, but I do like to share sometimes if I feel that there might be 2 card piles or more that are connected. If you find that you were also drawn to card pile 1, I do feel like this is chronological in some way. You might also check out card pile 1 and then card pile 2. And we'll find out in card pile 3 if that's also related, but I don't know just yet because I just do it in the moment. I haven't looked at the cards yet. So that might be worth your while, but I feel like for a time you were going through a period of deep healing, deep soul healing, deep inquiry, deep transformation, deep reflection, introspection, kind of like the hermit and the tarot, taking your time to parse things out, to unpack, to get clear on yourself, clear on your vision, clear on who you are, clear on your voice, clear on where you're headed, clear on what's not for you, okay, clear on what you're not going to listen to or respond to, clear on the things that don't define you, label you, all right? Getting clear on the things that just aren't for you, right? It's almost this distinction of knowing who you are and knowing who you are not, which is usually how we find our way to knowing who we are. But knowing who you are, and now things are picking up speed, things are accelerating and moving you in the direction of where you want to go. Now, here's the thing though, I feel like your next level, your next chapter, where you're headed has to do with other people, other hands in the pot. Okay, so that could be, again, taking any of the forms that we talked about earlier. You're gonna have to apply it to your circumstances, although we might get more specificity or clarity as we go. But this is about people coming into your life, relationships, opportunities through people, connections, because we have multiple community and collaborations cards, 2 lovers cards. So there's something here about connection, collaboration, cooperation, and community. Now, I want to explore this a little bit further and dive a little bit deeper, so I'll take a moment here. Okay, so this feels very much not just connected to other people, but connected to the natural world. This is just connection in general. So there's this deepening of connection, this awakening of deeper, truer intimacy for you, this expansion into intimacy and connection that's bringing you closer to other people, closer to friends, family, partnerships, community members, bringing you closer to any romantic connections or romantic partners. There's something here about the shift that you went through that supported you to clear some things out that potentially could have been in the way of deeper partnerships and intimacy that is now bringing you closer to yourself, but also closer to others in a way, in an unadulterated way, unfiltered way, in a way that is true and authentic and real and connected, and not, it's like we can have a lot of obstacles in the way of deep connection or true connection due to our own insecurities, patterning, fears, wounds as children or beyond. And it feels like whatever you went through, which could have been related to card pile 1's pile, whatever you went through, this deep transformation and clearing supported you to remove some of these obstacles and blocks that you could come into greater flow, greater abundance. There was a message here too that was coming through and has now left, and I wanted to capture that as well. It's like, not only whatever have you been seeking, is it going to be found in other people, relationships, connections, and that's going to be an important element for you. I don't know if that's something that's new for you. I would imagine it is, because it feels like this is sort of like a before and after, or maybe something you weren't totally clear of before, in terms of perhaps your life didn't have a bunch of relationships, connections, partnerships, or community before this. And now, because of this transformation, because of what you stepped into, because of where you're headed, because of this movement and this creative expression and whatever it is that's coming alive and accelerating for you, now you are connecting more with other people. And it's like you're finding a sweetness and level of fulfillment there that you didn't find before, because now you're more available for that level of partnership and intimacy. There's something here, though, I feel like about as well, partnership, community, whatever that is for you, having something to do with your purpose, your higher calling, where you're meant to go, where you're meant to take this. I feel like it brings you a level of peace and fulfillment you didn't quite expect. It's like maybe your whole life you were seeking elsewhere outside of yourself for abundance, for contentment, for fulfillment, but ultimately you wanted really a sense of belonging. And this belonging can be found in nature, natural world. It can be found with earth. It can be found with spirit. It can be found with other people. It's this connection that you've always sought. Now, here's what's interesting, though. I keep saying connection, but the vibe feels more true to belonging. And it's saying like that is kind of the root of the root, the bud of the bud for you. Like that's really what you've always sought for. Now, I do feel like for many of you, you weren't always aware of that or clear on that, or you weren't even capable of going there. So it was sort of like a non-issue or not something you invested yourself too much in. However, I feel like that was always at the root of it, whether you knew it or not, knew it consciously or not. I also feel like you've avoided this to some degree. So some of you could have been workaholics over the years. Some of you maybe prioritized career and livelihood and money and status and success and prestige and all that stuff over partnerships, relationships, connection, community, because it was like, this was the wound that you couldn't touch. You know, it was like a hot stove, and it's like, you can't even touch the hot stove because it hurts, right? So you'd rather just avoid the hot stove and do the dishes and put the things away and make the food and all the things, but don't want to mess with that stove. And so it's like, but ultimately what you always wanted was belonging. And I feel like number one, obviously with these being messages from your home planet, I think that's a clear, I don't want to say, I guess it's kind of obvious or apparent that of course there might be a lack of belonging or a sense of that because you aren't with your home planet, you are away from your home planet. So you might consider that something natural to you or natural to this process of being away from home, of being far away from home. And maybe that's just the nature of the beast of being here on Earth. But I also feel like this drive for belonging has led you in a lot of directions that maybe weren't ultimately true for you. And what you always actually wanted was to belong, to connect, to be with. And I feel like that's happening now. And so I'm feeling sort of multiple themes again: the community, the creativity, and abundance. These three are connected for you. These three themes: community, creativity, abundance, and sweetness, like the sweetness of life, fulfillment, satisfaction, contentment, intimacy. You're going to find that level of fulfillment and contentment from community, creativity. What was the other one I said? I'm going to let you, it just comes through and then it's gone. And then if I go trying to trail back, it's tough. It's tough. So I want to see what else is here for you. I feel like you might even be here for those that are single. Okay. Again, this isn't going to be for all of you, but for those that are single, I do feel like a partnership is coming. It's on the way. It's a part of this path, but it's almost like you had to make yourself available for it. You had to even recognize that this is something that you wanted. You had to prioritize it. You had to say, yeah, I want a partner. If we don't want a partner, we can be closed off and push away opportunities or not even see them. And it's like, now you're opening your heart and you're availing yourself to possibilities, to connection, to nurturing, to belonging. And I feel like this person is on the way, whether you consider it life partner, soulmate, twin flame, whatever. I do feel like the space has been open for this partnership to be realized. And now, of course, that's if you are single. What else is here? I do feel like there's a big connection to the natural world here. I feel like your message is relatively short and sweet and simple. So I'm going to see if I can pull some clarifier cards for you to just elaborate a little bit more, give you a little bit more insight, clarity, and guidance, especially with card pile one's reading being so lengthy. I want to make sure that I offer something similarly substantial for you, card pile two. All right, card pile two. So we are going to be talking a little bit about this transformation that you've been through. Remember, I was even pointing to card pile one. Again, you can check that out if that resonates. And it's diving into where you've been. And so sometimes we ask for clarification and instead of giving us more of the future or more of the now, it's like, oh, well, you've been here. And so it's like you've been through this deep process of emotional cleansing, emotional healing. And we already alluded to this when we were talking about going through the healing or transformation. So you could bring about greater connection, greater belonging to others, with others, but also with self. There was an emotional healing and clearing and cleansing happening here that was allowing you to dive deeper into yourself with yourself so you could ultimately eventually be able to dive in at that level with other people to find a level of satisfaction that you seek, card pile two. Because here's the thing, you are deep people. You might have water in your chart, you might have water in your moon sign, you might have water in all your signs. It doesn't matter where you're at in that, but I feel like you could be Scorpio as well. Because I'm just thinking of the different deep signs, and I'm not an expert at astrology. You might even know astrology better, and please do share your comments below. But I'm connecting with the kinds of people that I know who are very deep, and watery people tend to be very deep. Scorpios tend to be relatively deep. Who else? There's another one in there. Is it Pisces? Sometimes Aquarius too. But anyway, all of that to say, I feel like you're a very deep person, and these superficial, contrived, kind of manufactured kind of conversations, exchanges, interactions, relationships are not going to cut it for you. You want something deep. However, there was a part of you I felt, or it feels like, was potentially scared or feel fearful or anxious or insecure of that. Again, you were sort of in your own way and in the way of what you actually truly wanted for yourself. And so you might have wondered, why don't I feel satisfied? Why don't I feel fulfilled? But this was something that you had to turn to within yourself first and foremost and get clear on, even its own existence, first of all, but also to then start to build that relationship and connection with that part of you, with yourself, and then start availing yourself to making this connection with other people, because you have been through challenges and upset, disappointment, failure, loss, especially. I feel like you've been through perhaps some broken friendships, relationships, connections. Perhaps it's what led you to kind of being in your own way when it comes to intimacy. This could have been abandonment or neglect or something like that as a child. But it could have been heartbreak, heartache, loss over the years in romantic relationships or any relationships. And sort of you abandon ship. You're like, well, forget this. This is sunken ship before I even get on the darn thing, never mind. But in truth, you're meant to be, your sort of satisfaction in life, fulfillment, contentment in life does come from this sense of belonging, partnership, collaboration, cooperation, and community. So I'm going to sit with your cards one final time and to see if there's any final remaining messages for you. Again, I do want to provide you with just as substantial as the messages the other card piles. So give me a final moment and we'll finish up. It's so interesting to me when messages come in pieces, because it's funny, you know, a lot of times I get it right off the bat and it's like just coming through so quickly that I can't even keep up with it and I forget it, and then I have to try to scale back and try to catch the threads, and I'm like, well, you know, this is all I can give, you know, with everything that came through, it's as good as it's going to get. Then there are some piles that's almost given to me in pieces and in morsels and in breadcrumbs, and maybe that's how you feel your path has been, or maybe that's related to you, relevant or symbolic in some way for you, so that's why I wanted to share it with you. But the final piece here is you've been searching for something. Perhaps your whole life, and you've been looking in different places, okay? You've been looking here, there, everywhere, in this little nook, in this little cranny. You've been exploring outside of yourself, right? It's like what your soul has been searching for is what you're stepping into now, okay? It's this fulfillment. And I feel like that's ultimately, and I'm so glad for those of you who have finished this reading from beginning to end, because we're coming around, taking this full circle and really catching on as to what the primary meaning of this reading is, which is your fulfillment. You have been on a quest, a soul quest, your entire life for fulfillment. Most humans are. It's this gnawing, aching void feeling that if we don't fill it, things just don't feel right. It doesn't feel full. It doesn't feel complete. But this is the very drive that brings us where we need to go, that puts us out on the journey of our lives, that initiates these quests, this hero and heroine's quest to find ourselves, to uncover everything, to fight and slay the demons and the dragons. It's like that aching gnaw feeling of whatever you felt like was missing, whatever this quest moved you toward. You might not even have known or been able to label, identify, or clarify even what this was, but you've been on this quest, likely for most of you, your whole life, but especially intentionally, consciously, in an aware space in the past several years, I would say 5 to 10 years for most of you. And what you've been seeking is fulfillment, okay? And now you are clear on what that fulfillment is and what that fulfillment looks like. So because of card pile 1, and I'm saying card pile 1, even though you're card pile 2, because again, I think these are connected, because of that shift, that transformation. Now you're kind of, things are quickening up. You're moving into community, creativity. There was one there, wasn't there? There's 2 other ones. But go back and listen to those if you forgot. But those are sort of the themes of your fulfillment. If you've been wondering what fulfills me, it's these things. It's these things right here. Okay. And it took you this long, but you're never late. You're always on time to discover what these pieces and elements are. But that was the whole point. You know, if we didn't have this endeavor, if we didn't have this drive, if we didn't have this sort of dissatisfaction, we would have no reason to journey, no reason to quest, no reason to go out there and be on our hero and heroine journey to uncover and find ourselves, right? The whole point was this. And what you've been seeking ultimately, the deepest root, the bud of the bud, the root of the root, like we were saying, is that connection, that belonging. Okay. And so belonging in whatever form, belonging to God, great spirit, cosmos, universe, belonging to the natural world, earth, mother nature, spirit, belonging with friends, neighbors, family, community, belonging even with your food and feeling connected to your food and the food that you consume and eat, the plants that surround you, your home, belonging in your home. It's developing these deep, nurturing, soulful, meaningful, rich relationships with all the beautiful, loving aspects of your life. Coming into deep relationship with your home, deep relationship with your food, deep relationship with yourself, cosmos, great spirit, universe, the great mystery, the eternal mother. Coming into union with Mother Earth, Mother Nature, animals, plants, animals, people, your children, your family, the natural world. If this was card pile 2, messages from your whole home planet. This is what it wants to say. This is what it's saying. Everything that you have gone through has ultimately been trying to lead you to your greatest satisfaction and fulfillment. This great quest you have journeyed upon has been relevant to you discovering who you are, but as the secondary and necessary and most relevant or meaningful piece to that, what brings you fulfillment, what brings you joy, what makes you come alive. And these are the pieces that you've been discovering, right? And so I think that's why this reading, again, when we talk about coming in morsels and pieces and breadcrumbs, here we are. It's saying it was coming in pieces. It was coming in breadcrumbs. You pick up a piece there, you pick up a piece here, pick up a to pick up a piece of wow, you're just picking up pieces so you can really discover, uncover, and then live out, embody this deeply fulfilling, rich, and meaningful life experience of coming into deeper and greater relationship and connection and belonging with yourself and all other aspects of this beautiful, natural, supernatural, ordinary, extraordinary life. Card Pile 2, your home planet is telling you everything has been purposeful. It has brought you here. You were meant to discover what precisely makes you feel fulfilled and brings you satisfaction. It's very much connected to the primary root or drive, which for you is belonging and connection, which may very well have to do with your being a star seed. If you subscribe to that, if you align to that, and it's saying all these breadcrumbs, all these morsels, all these pieces that you've picked up along the way are relevant and they are now coming together. And some of the themes we touched on in today's reading, I would go back, I'd write them down. It's going to give you a gauge for at least some of the areas that bring you your most fulfillment, your greatest satisfaction. And for those of you who watch and want to help, you might even drop those in the comments for other people who watch. That way they don't have to take the notes. You could say Card Pile 2, it's community, creativity, connection. And so maybe that's it, something along those lines. That those are the things that light you up. That's what brings you fulfillment and coming into deep, fulfilling, intimate relationship and belonging connection with all beautiful aspects of your life. So Card Pile 2, this is your reading. If this lands, resonates for you, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, do check out the link below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. I do have 2 other YouTube channels, phenomenal communities. One is growing and needs nurturing. So if you want to go give love to Wise Women Talk, we have women on there alongside me who talk about spiritual topics and other personal, professional, and spiritual growth topics. So you might subscribe there and join us there too. And thinking if is there anything else? I don't think so. So thank you, Card Pile 2, and I will see you next time. Card Pile 3, messages from your home planet. So I want to be opening, at least when it's in flow and when I'm guided to, with a theme and or a card that speaks to that theme. So I'm going to share your theme with you. And like I said, I might do this from now on as long as it's in flow and I'm guided to do so. That way you can get a feel and you get a visual and you can take whatever vibes, qualities, or features from this card that you desire. And then we'll dive into the reading. And so far, these themes have been so spot on for everything that comes after it. So it says rising above, clarity, freedom, solution. So messages from your home planet. So here's what I felt like right off the bat, just like glancing at the cards. It was obvious because we have all these cards here. And I don't always show cards, but I need to show you. Because no kidding, the theme says rising above, and then we have mind, this is like stress, overwhelm, conditioning, stress, overwhelm, juggling, right? Now, of course, at first glance, those messages don't look very great. You're like, messages from my home planet, like what? But this is what it is. It's like getting too caught up in the practical and the everyday and the stressful everyday routine and all the things, but also the mind chatter about it and all the things that we can think about something and the way we perceive something and all of our commentary about something and our judgments about something and all that stuff. You're getting caught up there instead of the spiritual, instead of the mystery, instead of the embodiment, instead of the presence. So it's saying you've been asking for something, and this feels very pragmatic / practical as compared to the other 2 card piles. I do feel like these card piles are connected, and I shared that in Card Pile 2. I didn't get to share that in Card Pile 1, but perhaps they'll figure it out along the way. However, I feel like this is chronological, and it's speaking to sort of the development or evolution of anyone who's on a particular or similar journey. And so Card Pile 1 spoke to this deep healing and soul transformation. Card Pile 2 talked about how this was all ultimately leading to their fulfillment and them getting to understand and be clear on what that fulfillment looked like and was. And now it's getting more practical in this Card Pile 3 where it's saying, you've been asking a question. You've been saying either to your home planet or, to soul, God, great spirit, cosmos, universe, your spirit guides, your own consciousness, the consciousness, whatever. You've been sort of asking like, what the F, what's going on? You've been asking a question, and it might not even be a conscious question, but it's something along the lines of like, well, it's WTF. It's kind of like the vibe of WTF. Like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Why isn't this working? I feel like no matter what I do, I'm banging my head against a wall. I always feel like I hit a limit. I'm between a rock and a hard place. Why can't I figure this out? Where is the clarity? Why don't I have clarity? I know that I'm doing the work, but things aren't feeling right or feeling well. You know, it's like that kind of question, a lingering question. Now, whether or not you actually formulated and articulated this into a verbal question is a different story. But subconsciously, you have this curiosity, this asking of, why am I going through this? What do I need to do? What's the solution? How do I fix this, address this, resolve this? Because what is going on right now ain't working. Now, again, I feel like this is like an acute kind of situation that's been, and what I mean by that is short term, like the past several weeks or something, maybe past couple of months. And again, it's practical focus as opposed to the first two card piles being very deep, long standing. And this is more about like lately you've been in this position of, and this state of mind of, and the state of being of, whatever, stress, overwhelm, rock in a hard place, facing a lot of problems or calamity, being in a state of anxiety or depression, hitting up yourself up against a wall. Well, not actually hitting yourself, banging your head up against a wall or hitting up against limits or walls, or, you know, kind of shooting blanks. Like something isn't quite in flow. Okay, you haven't been in flow. You haven't felt like you've been in flow. Your life doesn't feel in flow, and therefore it feels very like you know, things just don't feel like they're in flow. When they're not in flow, they're not in flow. And so that's where you've been at. And so, and the why, you know, the message here, your messages from your home planet is because, well, you've been focused on the practical, the pragmatic, as opposed to the spiritual. And so that there's no problem with that, right? There's a balance that we all have to find, but it's a matter of, we can be in a state, and our state of mind, our state of being can be in a state of spiritual, of trust, of flow, of surrender, of embodiment, of presence, of warmth, of allowing, of engagement, of acceptance. We can be in this energy and still be operating in our everyday life, doing the dishes, cooking food, picking up the kids, going to grandma's, knocking on the neighbor's door, picking up the mail, going to work, clocking in, clocking out, whatever your version of that is. You can bring that energy into these experiences. I feel like for some of you, you live sort of this divided life, and maybe it's compartmentalized in some way, where sort of you go through the rote everyday stuff that you need to do, like cooking, cleaning, paying bills, working, and focusing on all this practical stuff and getting all the things you need done and checking tasks off the list and so forth. Then there's this beautiful, deep, spiritual, sensual, connected, alive version of you. It's flowy, it's soft, it's easygoing, it's powerful, it's profound. This is your truth. This is your soul. This is your aura. This is your spirit. This is the truer part of you. And I feel like in a lot of ways, you keep it not necessarily distant from each other, but a little bit separate, meaning you might have time for this where you kind of let this part of you out, right? Meditation or yoga, you know, at a retreat, and then you're back to the daily grind. What wants to happen here is a marriage of the two, an integration of the two, where you're able to bring this feeling of aliveness, this energy of spirit into your everyday existence, so you're not sort of hitting up against the wall, hitting up against these limits, running into all these obstacles. It just feels very disjointed, and it feels very, and again, we have stress here, we have conditioning, we have stress, mind chatter. Just a lot of busyness, a lot of chaos, a lot of noise. And it's because you're getting caught up in the physical world and the tangibles and the practicalities. You're asking yourself like a minutia of details. Well, what about this and what about that? And I have to know this and I have to know that and guarantee of this. Like, and it's like spirit just is, okay? And it doesn't mean, again, that you're not going to solve problems or do stuff as a human. Clearly, you're going to have to do that. And yet you can bring the energy of the other part of yourself into this. You can let that inform this other part of you. That part of you is actually going to come to an answer or a solution or clarity or whatever much more quickly and easily and with grace than your mind will ever figure out. Your mind's gonna have a lot of chatter, a lot of stress, a lot of thoughts, a lot of chaos. It's usually going to lead you to a dead end. So the more you can invite spirit into your life, even when you think it's impractical, even when you feel like you can't do it, even when you're already overwhelmed in that capacity, even when it means you're going to have to face all the thoughts and all the stuff and, you know, in the beginning, you know, because it's like if you haven't meditated in a while or done yoga or something like that, everything comes up all at the same time. Everything that's been pushed down, suppressed, submerged is like, whew. You might have to face that first, but give it the time to clear out and recognize that that actually is more practical than you think, because ultimately that's going to bring you the more answers, insight, clarity, nourishment, restoration, renewal, reinvigoration, fuel that you need, that the practical mind would never be able to offer. Because the energy that I'm getting, the mental chatter is only connected to a few things. One, stimuli, things you've already experienced and known. So it's only connected to old habits, patterns in history, so it can only speak to the past. Your mind is incapable of speaking to the future. So it's always going to deliver to you something that has already occurred, something that you expect or predict, or something from the past. Your mind can only offer you that which it already has a neural pathway or a groove for. It can only offer you what you've already experienced. So it's saying if you want something new, if you want something fresh, if you want something that's more aligned with who you are today and all the work that you've done, you're going to have to invite spirit, this other part of you, this beautiful, sensual, open, available, trusting, flowing part of you, to be a part of your world, so that even your practical life, your practical world, your everyday stuff, because it's going to be able to give you everything that the mind could not. It can give you things from your future, your vision, your higher calling, your dream, your destiny. The mind is just going to pick up from the things that it already knows. And you've already been there, done that. In addition, the mind is going to give it all to you. Okay, so this can create overwhelm, can create stress. So while spirit can land bing, with the tiniest little thing, the tiniest little direction, breadcrumb, idea, clarity, whatever, when you give it the space, when you bring that energy and allow for that in your everyday experience, while spirit can do that in an instant, and even while you sleep, while you wake, while you're in the shower, while you're driving, it's like the mind wants to give you everything, right? And a lot of people talk about lists, like pros and cons. I don't even recommend that as an Errity, as my ego. I don't recognize doing recommend doing pros and cons, because again, it's limited by the nature of the mind and by your history and by what you expect and by your conditioning. So what could possibly be there that's good for you, aside from, making sure that you're safe in a dark alley at night? Thank you, mind. But aside from that, you really want something more visionary, something truer, something more authentic to you. And so it's saying, letting yourself be in a space of where you're letting spirit guide you and letting your spirit guide you, as opposed to the mind, which either brings things from your past or brings everything all at once. Because again, it's just too much information. It's information overload. So of course, the longer you live and the more experience you have and the more calamity that you've witnessed, now you have 1,000,001 things that could go wrong, 1,000,001 possibilities and all this stuff. It's like looking at a menu with 100 choices. You're going to be paralyzed. You're not going to be able to make a move. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to know what to do. Okay. So instead of, and I've talked about this before, you might have heard it in one of my other readings, but it's a metaphor that has come up in the past. So we go to a restaurant and we look at 100 different choices. That's going to be overwhelming to the system. Okay. However, if we never even look at the menu and we just sit there out in our car and we connect with our body, our own intuition, our own gauge, and we say, what do we want? And then we specifically go to a restaurant that has that. Those are two totally different approaches and energies. And it doesn't mean we might be spontaneous and be adventurous sometime and go to the place with 100 things. That's not a problem. It's saying, like, in general, as a pattern, our mind is going to bring 100 plus things to mind, and it's going to be very, very difficult to navigate ourselves or to know what to do or to have clarity or guidance or direction or insight for anything at all that we might need. It's going to be very, very difficult because all of this noise and chaos is going to be in the way and all at once, and it's all based in the past. You want clarity. You want clarity from a space of freedom. You want solution, something that actually feels like a solution. Where are you going to find your solutions? It's going to be from that part of you, your spirit itself. It's not going to be from the mind. The mind is can again rehash and spit out old stuff, but it's just giving you the old highlight reel. So if you're relying on your mind for wisdom, you're going to find that things aren't very wise. Spirit, your spirit, soul, truth, higher self, that's where you're going to find more of the wisdom, the guidance, the solutions that you seek. Your mind is no longer the captain of the ship. It's like if you let your mind captain your ship, card pile 3, you end up in torrential rainstorms, into hurricanes, you've crashed on the side of a deserted island, you're up, you're down, torrential seas, all this stuff. It's like when you allow spirit to be a part of your world, to guide you, to lead you, to be with you in all of your moments, most of your moments, the more space you're able to create for that. You find you're in a calm and gentle sea with beautiful sunshine over, just enough water that comes down, land when you need it, no land when you don't. Everything's very easy. Everything's very graceful. Everything's very serene. So you get to pick who's going to be the captain of your ship. So let's see what else is coming up here. Yeah, clarity, freedom, solution, exactly. Yeah. So again, instead of seeing what the limitations of it's like you're looking for solutions in the wrong area, right? Or advice, guidance, clarity in the wrong areas. Not that anything's actually wrong, but it's like, how about magic, right? It's like the energy of When we try to solve something or figure something out or understand or discern something, and we're looking at all the variables and how and what and when and who, and it's like trying to gather all this information and then analyze it and come to a conclusion, it's like, well, that's energy that you just don't want anymore, and it's actually not serving your growth or your healing or your evolution. That's actually the energy that has to go. That's the energy that's being asked to go. To no longer occupy and reside that as primary residence. You're moving out, all right? You're giving that house up for sale by mind chatter. And it doesn't mean the mind chatter is not going to come, right? We don't want to try to control, force, or resist that. We just set it on the shelf and we ask ourselves, well, if everything were magical and everything were miracles, what might I choose? If magic was ultimate truth, how would this situation turn out? If miracles happened every day, how might this situation resolve itself? You know, it's like those kinds of questions, asking those kinds of questions, getting curious, but aligning, residing in, occupying magic, miracles, divine, spirit, mystery, the trusting, the flow, the support, the provision of life itself. If you trusted the flow, the support, and provision of life itself, how might you deal with the situation? What might you do? What might you say? How could you move forward? It's starting to align more with spirit, with grace, with true wisdom, than the mind chatter and all the things that you tend to try to, you reside there. And that's where you try to get things done and achieve things and accomplish things and solve things. And it's like, that might have worked in the past. You're stepping into a higher state of being and into a higher calling now that requires a different set of wisdom, a different set of keys. It's like you have this old ring of keys. It's not unlocking any more doors in your life. And again, so you're banging your head against a wall, or just now there's so many keys on that keychain. It's like, what if you had a keychain that literally had 1,000,000 keys and you had one door? You have to sit here and try every single one. Do you realize how painstaking, exhausting, overwhelming that's going to be? Okay. And spirit just gives you one key. Okay, so you're setting the ring aside with the 1,000,000 keys that comes from the mind. Remember, this is all old history, old stimuli, et cetera, et cetera. You're setting that aside, you're shelving that, and you're saying, okay, now I'm gonna, for a time, experiment with this single key, this key of spirit, and trusting that that is practical enough for you, pragmatic enough for you, that it is connected and grounded enough for you to bring you exactly what you need. Meaning you're willing to maybe prioritize creating space for yourself, or meditation, or yoga, or whatever these practices are that get you in touch with that flow, with that zone, with that freedom and clarity, that you're willing to prioritize that even over your practical stuff, recognizing that that's going to get you where you want to go more quickly. And that's tough, because I feel a lot of resistance coming up for some of you when it's fear. It's fear that it won't work out, that's not going to happen, that it's not going to be resolved, that you're going to have to end up doing it anyway, and you're going to get more overwhelmed, it's going to be more stressful, it's going to be even harder because I waited, because I procrastinated, because I delayed, because I did this. That's more of the mental chatter. We're shelving that. And then we're saying, okay, so what if it were easy? And what if I could live in an experience of magic? And what if miracles happened every day? And right? That's the kind of space you're creating. And you don't even need to do it with a sentence or declaration with a finite period. That's why I'm asking questions and asking you to even ask those questions, because that's when we open space, and it's much more easier than trying to define something. If we say miracles happen every day, affirmations are like that. Miracles happen every day. Life is magic. The problem is so many people don't actually believe those things that all it does is create more resistance in the subconscious mind. Instead of being liberating, it is affirming, and it just brings them on that same old self-fulfilling prophecy of limitation and smallness. So instead we ask these gentle questions and we live out the answers to our questions. Okay. Recognizing, yeah, because you felt unsafe. You feel unsafe to let those keys go, because those keys have been what have, like, that mental chatter and your mind and your intellect and all the ways that you've problem solved up until now, all those millions of keys in that ring that are still so exhausting as you try to plug it in to the door and get in, and it takes you forever and ever and ever, and you're not getting the answer, you're hitting yourself up against walls, you're banging your head, whatever, all those things that I'm already saying. It feels draining, exhausting, stressful, overwhelming, you know, but it's like, oh, but this is my baby. Like, this has helped me through all these things, and it's what got me through, and it's what helped me to succeed, and it helped me get where I am today. And there's a fear there of letting go of those keys, because all the times that it saved you, rescued you, made it easy for you, resolved it for you. But here's the thing, you're being asked to trust a higher mind. You're being asked to try out a different source, and that is of God. Great spirit, cosmos, universe, instead of your own limited ego mind that might believe that this is the way because this is how it's been in the past, and this is what's helped me succeed, this is what's helped me cope, this is what helped me defend myself, this is how I've survived up until now. Here's the thing, all your pragmatics and practicals and all those millions of keys on that key ring of your mind, of mental chatter, have helped you survive. But spirit is saying, well, if you're ready to thrive though, will you try it this way? So messages from your home planet is saying, this is all about you stepping into a space of, well, allowing and creating more space, allowing and creating more flow, but being in the space of more flow, spirit, and communion, the energy that we've been talking about up until now, as opposed to the realm of the mind, of practicality, of pragmatics, of tangibles, of the external world. Is learning to get behind spirit and trust and value your spirit itself, life itself, and letting that be the leader and the guide of your life. And recognizing you believe that you're safer because of your mind, but that's because it's all you've ever known. And again, it can only speak to your history. It can't bring you something new. So if you're looking for something new and you're wanting to step out of survival into thrival, and you're wanting to experience, because I feel like that's what you want this freedom. You want to experience more freedom on the inside and on the out, likely. And yet those old keys aren't going to get you there. It's going to be the single key. It's going to be the one from spirit that unlocks yourself, your own trust, your own flow, your own surrender. There's a part here, there's like a surrender too of this energy of maybe even not feeling safe. Like, yes, feeling safe is important, and we have to honor that, especially as we're learning and we're maturing on our path in terms of ego development. Safety is key. And at the same time, the paradox of it, the other side of the coin, is recognizing in this great mystery, there's more or less is no safety, and there is no guarantee, and there's no security. So are you willing to lean back and try something else, a different way? And I'm still feeling tons of resistance. So what I'm saying might not be hitting the spot, but spirit is here to help you. Your messages from your home planet, that's what they're trying to support you. It's about rising above and beyond the everyday practical necessities of life and these problems of life and all these things you run into that tend to kind of throw you off. And remembering that your primary priority is spirit, is your spirit. Yeah, this is about I shed habits that hinder my truth. I release and renew. This is about leaving the keys behind, the old ways behind, the old habits behind, this is how I used to do it. This is how I've always done it. This is how I've always solved problems. I don't know any different. I don't know any better. This is my key to survival. This is my friend. It's helped me through all of this stuff. And it's like, you don't even have to let it go forever, right? We're just shelving it. We're putting it on a shelf. And we're saying, okay, we're going to put that on the shelf. It's still here with me, but I'm going to try this key that spirit gave me and see how this can help me. Let's try this for today, or this moment even, because that feels better because there's resistance. Anytime I add anything more than that, let's see what spirit has to say, how this can help me. Instead, let me see if there's any final messages, and please excuse me moving around. I get uncomfortable by card pile 3. So forgive me as I shift, as I share. Any final messages from your home planet? Yeah, you're being asked to trust, to surrender to the divine, allow the divine, allow the divinity that wants to move through you, come for you, show up for you, flow through you, flow for you. It's like there's a lot more peace and satisfaction, fulfillment, and contentment when you're aligned with this energy as opposed to the other energy. At the end of the day, you just feel better when you're in this other energy. So if you haven't felt right, you have felt off, you felt off center, it's because you've been occupying the state of the mind instead of the state of spirit. So that's your message from your home planet, card pile 3. This is all about learning to reside in, occupy, be with that state of spirit, that state of being, creating more space and spaciousness, however that looks in your life, where you feel and trust and flow and ease and grace and love and held. That where those spaces are, where that opens up for you, where you feel that energy is what you move toward, and that's what you make your priority, as opposed to the practicalities that you feel like need your attention. And sometimes even letting problems resolve themselves, letting them solve themselves. The more you just align with spirit and trust, 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 all that stuff is going to resolve itself. That is the guiding message here. And the concluding one. So thank you, card pile 3. If this resonates, lands, I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. If you want to get to know more about me or my work, how I can support you, or personal readings, you can visit erritygreen.com/shop or check out the link below. And last but not least, I encourage you to check out my other 2 YouTube channels, Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Talk, and join those communities as well. Thank you, card pile 3.